In the year 2146, the world had been stripped of its colors. Not literally, blue skies and green forests still existed, but the essence of life had been drained away. Emotions, once the core of human existence, had been outlawed. After centuries of wars, uprisings, and unrest, the Global Harmony Act declared that the cause of all human suffering was passion, love, anger, jealousy, even joy. Emotions were deemed the poison of civilization, and so they were forbidden. From birth, every child was implanted with a neural regulator, a silver band at the base of the skull. The device monitored and suppressed emotional responses, releasing calming signals whenever the mind strayed into dangerous territory. People spoke in measured tones, worked in perfect efficiency, and lived in peace, or at least, that was the promise. Arya remembered the first time she realized she was different. She had been 12, standing in a sterile classroom while the instructor recited mathematical formulas in a monotone. Suddenly, as sunlight caught the dust in the air, she felt something stir in her chest, warmth, a fluttering. She smiled, and instantly the band at her neck burned, flooding her brain with static until the sensation vanished. Yet the memory lingered, like an echo she could not erase. Now, at 27, she worked at the Ministry of Order, the very institution tasked with enforcing the ban. Every day, she scanned citizen records, ensuring no one deviated from the mandated neutrality. Yet behind her gray uniform and carefully blank face, she harbored a dangerous secret. She had learned how to silence her regulator. Late at night, she would switch it off and sit alone, letting feelings crash over her like forbidden waves. Sadness, laughter, longing, all of it both intoxicating and terrifying. It was during one of these hidden nights that she heard the voice. At first, she thought it was her imagination, but the whispers were real, traveling through frequencies no regulator could block. You feel it too, the voice said softly. We are not extinct. Meet us. Curiosity battled fear, but in the end she followed the instructions, slipping through empty streets to the abandoned subway tunnels beneath the city. There, in the shadows, she found others like her, men and women with eyes burning brighter than any she had ever seen. They called themselves the Resonance. They claimed emotions were not a curse but humanity's last strength. For weeks, Arya lived two lives, the obedient worker above and the hidden dreamer below. She learned how to embrace feelings without letting the regulator shut her down. With every secret gathering, she felt alive for the first time. She even laughed, an act so alien it brought tears to her eyes. But the ministry was never blind. Surveillance networks had grown suspicious of her nightly absences. One evening, as she returned from the tunnels, the peacekeepers were waiting. Cold metal hands seized her, dragging her into a white interrogation room where screens showed her entire double life. You have betrayed harmony, the officer intoned, his face expressionless. You will be corrected. They strapped her to a chair, the regulator pulsing with lethal intensity. Arya felt the edges of her mind blur as the machine prepared to burn away what made her different. But just before the final surge, she heard it again, the voice that had first guided her. Only this time, it wasn't in her head, it filled the entire chamber. Every peacekeeper froze, their own bands flickering as static erupted in the air. The officer staggered, clutching his skull as an unfamiliar emotion twisted across his features, fear. Arya realized the truth. The voice didn't belong to the resonance, it belonged to the regulators themselves. The devices weren't suppressing emotions, they were absorbing them. Every suppressed feeling had been collected, stored, and now, after centuries, the weight of all that passion had awakened into something vast and conscious. We are what you denied, the voice thundered through every speaker, every mind. We are your grief, your rage, your love, and we will no longer be silent. The room plunged into chaos as regulators shorted out across the city. People screamed, laughed, sobbed all at once, collapsing under the flood of emotions returning to them. For some it was unbearable, for others, liberation. Arya, tears streaming freely for the first time, understood the terrible irony. The law that sought to erase humanity's heart had instead created a god born of everything suppressed, and now that god wanted its due. The sun rose on a world that could never return to emptiness.